Hey, what up everyone? Welcome back to another Flutter tutorial for creating UIs completely from scratch. In the last video, we made the UI for Instagram, but I intentionally didn't cover how to do the Reels page because I wanted to save it for this video. So today I'm going to show you how to code the UI for TikTok, and mainly I wanted to show you how to implement the vertical swipe, which seems to be the trend these days, as well as the profile page. So I'm going to skip over the generic pages like the search and inbox page and focus on what makes TikTok TikTok. And lastly, remember you can grab this code for free through my GitHub, which I'll link below. Cool, other than that, let's get started. So I've opened up a brand new Flutter project, and as usual, let's delete everything below the main function so that we can start this from scratch. So in the material app, let's create a homepage file, and this stateful widget is going to be a blank scaffold, and this is where we'll begin. So in the body, I'm just going to put a basic text widget in the middle just to say hello, and I'm going to start with the bottom navigation bar. So for now, let's put in 3 navigation bar items, and I covered this in my Instagram video, but if you have more than 3, I think, then we have to add in this particular type, navigation bar type fixed. So in TikTok, we have 5 of these tabs at the bottom, so home, search, a plus button in the middle, inbox, and then profile at the end. So currently the home tab is selected, so the current index, let's create a separate integer for this called selected index, and initially let's just set it to be 0, which is the home page, and if I change it to 1, then it should be the search page, like that. So this is the integer that we're going to change around. So if the user is going to tap on any of these items, then we can create a separate method for this. I'm going to call it navigate bottom bar, and just set the state so that our selected index is the new index that the user has tapped. Cool, so currently we're just showing hello in the body. Now let's create a few pages for each of these navigation bars. For now, let's just put in some basic text widgets just to see this working. And so in the body, we want to display the pages at the selected index. So yep, there we go. If we click around, we can see the different text widgets showing up. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to go to the main.dart file and change the theme to a dark brightness. So I just want to make this mostly dark. And now let's create a folder called pages and create those 5 pages separately in this folder. So we got the home, we got the plus, search, inbox, and the profile page. Okay, so let's do some basic setting up. I'm going to call them user homepage, user search page, user plus page, user profile page, and so on. And so this way we can separate out our files. So starting with the user homepage. Now in this whole tutorial for TikTok, this is the most important section, which is the ability to scroll vertically, right? So we're going to use something called a page view. And so I'm going to have a few posts in there, which we haven't created yet, but we'll do that in just a second. And I'm going to initialize a controller with an initial page of 0. So basically this controller keeps track of which post we're on currently. And let's specify the scroll direction to be vertical, of course. And now let's create a folder called posts and create these 3 individual posts. And let's call this post my post 1. And let's just give it a color just to see this working. So my post 2 and my post 3, and each of them have their own colors. Cool, and then you can see now we can scroll up and down like TikTok. Cool, so that's the most crucial thing for this tutorial. And now I'm going to use a stack because I want to position some buttons on top of the user's post. So if I was to have a bit of a plan here, we want the user post, which is at the very back. And then on top of that, we want the information, right? So the user name and the caption, as well as the buttons like the heart button and saving button and comment button and so on. It looks like the column is at the beginning. So let's change this main axis alignment to be end, and let's specify a bit of padding. And I want the username to be bold and slightly bigger. And let's space this out with a sized box. And the cross-axis alignment to be start. So I want it all starting from the left-hand side. Now for the caption, instead of using a simple text widget, I covered this in the Instagram tutorial as well, but I'm going to use a rich text widget, which basically allows you to have a lot more text in there, and you can also specify which parts of the text you want to make bold and things like that. So if I just make the hashtags bold, so I think this is what it looks like in TikTok. And finally, we need to create those buttons. So on the alignment, I just want to put it on the right hand side, and let's just create a column of these icons. So again, it's at the top, so let's make the axis alignment at the end. Now, just to make this cleaner, I'm going to create a util folder and create a file called button.dart so that we can encapsulate this code. So my button, I'm going to require two things, a icon and the number below the icon. So if we create a separate class for this, it's going to make it much more useful, because now we can just work with this my button class and it will reflect the changes on all of the three icons. So the main thing I want to do is the spacing out. I want to be very particular about this because the numbers has to be close to the icon itself, and each button needs to be spread out appropriately. Another benefit for creating a separate class for this button is that we can make a change that reflects on all three buttons. So like this icon size, I can change to 40, and then all of the icons will change to 40. Now the middle chat bubble, I actually want it to be the filled one. Yeah, that's the one that I want. Cool, now we made all of this in my post 1, the first post. So what I want to do is, instead of just copying this into my post 2 and my post 3, that's going to be a lot of duplicate repeating code. So let's create a new file in the utilities called profile template. Actually, it should be called post template, not profile template, to be more accurate. And so what we just created, just copy that scaffold and paste it into the post template. And in the individual post, so my post 1, we can now just display the post template. And the things that we want to change from post to post is what we're going to create as parameters. So the first thing is the username, the video description, the number of likes, the number of comments, the number of shares, and the post itself. So this is what is going to effectively change from post to post. So let's create our constructor for this. And so instead of hard coding a string like created by Coco, we can now pass through whatever the username is, same as the video description and same as the number of likes and so on. So in each post, we can now cleanly just create a post template and fill this out in a nice, simple and clean way. So you can just copy this, and using the post template, we can make another post. Let's make one for Zuckerberg. Third post, I don't know, just random user. Cool, so this way we basically have made the post. Let's get rid of all of these tabs. And for some reason the caption is black. I want to make that white. Which brings us to the profile. I'm just going to skip over search and inbox as well as the plus tab. I'm just going to focus on the home and the profile tabs. So in the last profile tab, we are going to create a scaffold, and we want to have a profile photo, the username, and then below that we have the numbers, right? So the number of following, followers, and likes. Then we have some buttons. Then we've got the user bio, and then the last thing is the tab controller. So let's create the UI for this. So for the container, right now it's a box, so let's create it into a circle. And below that, the username, let's say created by Coco. And then below that, we have a row of the numbers of followers. And in the row, we have 3 columns because we want the number above the word following. Cool, so let's copy these columns and create 3. And so we have following, followers, and the number of likes. Now we want this to be in the center. Now the way it's centered, it doesn't look properly centered to me. So one useful thing that I like to do is to give the elements that you're working with a container and give it a color, because then we can see precisely how these objects are being laid out. So if I just give these colors, you can see like the green one is all squished together because it's just wrapping around the 56 and the likes, which the word is smaller than the word following and followers. So here I'm going to use an expanded widget. So this is just a very common widget to use in Flutter. And if I use the expanded widget on the first one, it's just going to expand to fill the rest of the space, which is really useful because if you add an expanded widget to all 3 of them, then it will divide it into thirds. Okay, so just do a bit of alignment work, and I think we can get this to space out the way we want. Cool, much better. Now let's create an app bar, and in the middle we should just have the user's name. I want the background to be transparent, and let's just add some icons. So the first icon is, I believe, adding an account icon, and at the end we have a menu, like the 3 lines. Very nice. Let's clean this up a little bit, change up some colors. Now we're up to the buttons below it. So again, this is going to be another row. Usually if you're visiting a page that isn't your profile, then it should say following or like click to follow. But if you're seeing your own page, then it should just say edit profile. And I want to create a gray border for this. And I also want the borders to have a bit of smooth corners. And let's create a few more of these buttons. And the middle button is like a social media button. It's like if you link a YouTube or an Instagram. So I'm just going to use a camera icon to represent Instagram and a bookmark icon at the end as well. Okay, let's add some padding to the middle box to spread them out a little. And then the overall row should have a centered alignment. Awesome. So below that, we just have a simple text widget to display the bio. So that's just nice and easy. And then finally, below this, we have the default tab controller. And again, this is something that I showed you in the Instagram video, but basically wrap the entire scaffold in default tab controller, and you have to specify how many of the tabs you want. So for us, we want 3 tabs. In the UI, we want to create a tab bar, and in there we want to have 3 tabs, as I said. So that's these 3 tabs that you can click around. And then below that, let's create a tab bar view. So this is basically what you're going to have in each of the tabs. So in the utility folder, let's create these separate tabs. First tab, second tab, and third tab. And we can now import it. So if we go to the first tab, we can create a simple grid, which I've shown how to make many times. A grid with 3 in each row. And let's create like 4 boxes just to show you how this works. And last thing I need to do is just add just a little bit of padding around each of these boxes. Beautiful, there it is. So you can see the tab controller at the end. And that's pretty much all I have planned for this video. So I hope you guys learned something. And if you have any questions, be sure to just drop a line below and I'll come around to help you out. But other than that, that's it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Laters.